Hi, I'm Jesse, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a procedure in order to program and teach your zortrax robot, as well as other things from servos um, through the Pololu Maestro. But let's get started with the big robot first. So some software packages you're going to need to start out with are Arduino. So you're going to go and get that from arduino.cc. I particularly prefer version 1.6.4. Works the best for me. Also, you're going to want to go ahead and get a copy of Marlin. You'll just download the zip file from GitHub. So when you click on it, over here on the right, you'll see a download zip. So you can do that, or I will make a compiled folder for Mr. Muchler in Dropbox. You can also get Repetier. Repetier, you'll just download the same from GitHub, which is a file sharing repository for Arduino projects and stuff. So once you get Arduino open and loaded on your computer, you can either open the file that I'll send to Mr. Muchler, or you can just use the native Marlin. You'll have to make some changes to the native Marlin, so I don't know if I would go that far yet, but I made some changes to the configuration H folder in order for it to work. But once you got it ready, or you can go ahead and just open the sketch that I provide you, you'll hit the verify, and it'll go ahead and compile your sketch. And from there, once that completes, it's actually just downloading. As you can see, it says done compiling. And then from there, I'll go ahead and hit upload. Upload will go ahead and compile my sketch, and I'm actually just sending it over a USB cord that is plugging into the board over here. And you'll see it going kind of chattery on the green light while it's getting its program, and it'll go solid after you completed your download. So you can see it's still blinking a little bit, and as I look at my screen, it's still in the process. So now that it's done, the green light goes away. So you'll know that you're okay there. And also, once you get that part done, then you're ready to go ahead and start creating programs for it. The software that you'll use to communicate with it is called Printerface. It's a free 3D printer interface. So what you'll do is just go ahead and go to connect, and you should see it connecting over here if your Arduino program loaded successfully. So what you'll know you can do from there is just jog the axis. So I'll go ahead and click on one of these, and you'll see the axis move. And as you can see, the robot's responding. So now I go ahead and just put this here because these motors don't have a brake. So occasionally the thing will darn collapse on itself, because sometimes the weight of the robot arm will get out and overextended to the point where if it's not getting a command, the motor's no longer giving it power, so it'll just kind of just flop and go limp. So what I try to do is just put a little, either I try to make it at a neutral point so the weight's just not going to cause it to topple over, or otherwise. But in order to write a program to it, I use either just a notepad. So from right here, from notepad, you'll see I start with a simple group of commands. The one that's highlighted, as you can see, starts with a G21, and you see this line right here is where your actual moves start in. So you'll see an X minus 10 and F400. So the X minus 10 really actually means is move the x-axis 10 millimeters in the negative direction. So then you'll see that I have an S0. Well, the G4 means is a wait command. So I'll go ahead and put a 1 second wait there. And so that's gonna move the robot at the x-axis, negative 10 millimeters at a speed of 400. So you can change that speed and make it a higher value if you really want to. And then I got a 1 second wait here. You can change that to a 5 second wait, and just by changing the value next to S. So then I go ahead and do a positive 10 millimeters move in X direction at the same 400 speed. So you'll see I go ahead and just copy that from a notepad or a text application. And from that, I'll go ahead and open the Repetier. So you'll see that I've already gone and pasted it here, but if you start new with Repetier, your window will probably start, well, this is the whole window. So what I do is I go to G-code editor and new, and so what I'm just going to do is I'm going to paste. So there's my code, and then what I do is I go ahead and use this to save it. when I do this to save it, what it does is it gives me a file extension of .g code, as you can see there. Without that file of .g code, the Repetier interface may not necessarily use it. So then, going over here to the Repetier interface, you say load file, and the file I'm going to go ahead and load is X only. And I click on that and I say open. So now when I've got that in there, I can just press print and you'll see the robot moved the x-axis 10 millimeters and then 10 millimeters in the opposite direction. So I'll go ahead and hit print once more. And you see the robot move the axis 10 millimeters and then 10 millimeters back. Okay, so that was pretty, I guess, painless. Let's go back to the notepad application and let's look at the one over here to the left. So right here on the left, you'll see that I went ahead and added a move right here. I added a Z10. So where I'm getting the X, Y, and Z is depending on which cord is plugged into your board. So if you look really closely, I don't know if my phone can get it, but you see that they're labeled X, Y, and Z. Well, that's for your axes. So you got 3 axes that came on the zortrax robot. So you got to think of them in terms of that when you're writing your code. So over here I'm going to say move the z-axis in 10 millimeters. Then I'll move the x-axis, I guess the same as I did last, but all I'm doing here is adding a z move along with it. One of the z moves I went ahead and landed on the same line as the x-axis move, and on the other one I went ahead and gave it its own line. Just by separating with a space, you're doing, I guess, a combination move at the same time. So you can do an X and a Z move, or an XY and a Z move, or any combination. And so I'm going to go ahead and just hit Control C and copy that. And then I'm going to go ahead and come back here to the Repetier package. So I'm just going to say new and paste my new one. So you can see my new one has the Z movement. So I'm just going to go ahead and say save. And that one was X only, so I'm going to call it ZX, or XZ only. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And when I go back to the Repetier package, I'll go ahead and say load file. And from load file, let's see, on my USB stick, there's X and Z only. I'll open that, and now I'll say print, and I should get a movement from my X-axis and my Z-axis. So let's see. Holy cow. Yeah. Holy cow. So, as you can see, I kind of goofed up, or I wrote my code wrong, but in either case, I wrote an X and a Z movement by removing the power plug from the Ramps 1.4 board. You can go ahead and arbitrarily move around I guess the stepper motors and the robot itself kind of freely. Over the years, mine's kind of taken a punishment, so it's seen better days. But there's I guess a quick tutorial on how to get started on writing code for your zortrax robot. I would keep it simple. Start with X, start with Y, and then start to combine them with X, Y, and Z moves. I can share some codes that I've written trying to make my robot dance. There's also the one that comes with the manual for the zortrax robot. So here's the zortrax robot assembly manual, and all the way at the bottom, or the last page, which I believe is 18, you'll see that there is, there it is. There's an electrical diagram or a connections diagram for plugging in your motors in order to make it move. And then also there's a link for the dancing robot code that they provided. To me, it didn't work out so great because it didn't provide an origin. Without an origin or a starting position for the robot, the code caused the robot to dance around to the point where it crashed, just similar to what you saw. Alright, now I'm going to move over to the Pololu Robotics or Maestro controller, and right now I've got it hooked up to a hand or a gripper. Here's my Delta robot, which I can connect it to here in a minute, but just getting familiar with the Pololu Maestro control center, you'll just go up here and you'll connect to it. So you'll drop down and connect to the board, and you can see that you can select these channels to be inputs, outputs, or servos. I've currently got all mine selected as servos. So right now I've also got, well, let me cover this. When you connect your servos, you're always going to connect the dark terminal to the outside of the board. The dark terminal is the negative terminal. So I've also connected the dark terminal from my battery to the outside of the board, or the farthest pin away, to the edge, I should say. And so in order to go ahead and program from a Pololu standpoint, just kind of like on the little robot over here that I believe Mr. Mushler said you guys are building, in order to program that guy, you'll just go ahead and highlight the channel that you have your servo plugged into. So currently I have mine plugged into number 4. And as I drag the swiper, you can see my hand moves. So I'll go ahead and leave my swiper there, or the slider I should say, and I'll go ahead and click save frame. So from that, I'll go ahead and move the slider back. And you can see as I did that, the gripper opened up. And from that, I'll go ahead and say save frame again. So this is pretty much all you have to do for the most part when you're programming with a Pololu. So you can move it again, and then from there I'll jump from the status page to the sequence page. You see on the sequence page it saved those 3 frames that we just saved. So I can either click play in a loop or just play sequence. So right now I'll just click play sequence so you can see the 3 steps that we've saved. So easy enough, right? So from there, if you wanted, you could plug in more servos, similar to like the Delta here, which has got 5, 3 for the actual axes, 1 for the rotator, and 1 for the gripper, which maybe I'll follow up with another video, but there's some quick overviews on how to program a couple of the components that I've left behind for you guys to learn from. So I hope this was helpful, and if not, feel free to shoot me an email or shoot me a text. Okay, have a good day.